I died because I tried to repair a cheap charger while it was still plugged in. I woke with my palm on an awakening crystal and saw glowing wires moving inside solid stone. The wires were red, blue, and gold. They twisted around one another under my hand. Some carried light, others leaked. It escaped through tiny cracks. Then a voice behind me said, "Nothing happened." I looked up. 400 students filled a white stone hall. Teachers sat behind a long silver desk. A ranking board hung above them. My new name, Relin, stood at the bottom. Memory hit me in one hard wave. I was 18. I had no parents, no money, and one academy scholarship. I had spent 6 years preparing for this awakening. If I failed, I lost everything. That was unfortunate. Dying twice in 1 minute would have felt greedy. Gavor stood beside the crystal in a red prefect coat. He was broad, handsome, and polished from his boots to his smile. He stared at the examiner's measuring plate, then lifted it so the entire hall could see how strength and its strength increase 0, he announced. Defense increase 0, mana increase 0. Whispers crossed the hall. Gavor tapped the plate again. Special talent, internal monoline illumination. The first laugh came from the front row. The second came from the noble seats. Within a breath, half the hall was laughing. I kept looking at the crystal. One blue line fed 20 units of mana into its center. 16 leaked away before reaching the measuring plate. The crystal was not testing me. It was wasting most of the power and blaming me for the result. "Can you cast anything?" Gavor asked. "Not yet." "Can you strengthen your body?" "No. Can you at least make the pretty lines dance?" More laughter followed. Gavor smiled as if he had personally invented comedy. At the silver desk, Master Braskin examined my papers. He was head of the artifact faculty. His dark robe had 7 gold seals, each one worth more than everything I owned. "The Academy cannot spend a combat scholarship on decorative eyesight," Braskin said. "Remove his meal allowance, remove his tower room, assign him to basement maintenance until the end of the month." The clerk hesitated. "Master, his written score was 3rd in the year. Then he should be clever enough to repair a broom." The hall laughed again. My name vanished from the scholarship list. It reappeared under unranked support labor. Gavor leaned close enough for only the first rows to hear him. "My family supplies the Academy's artifacts," he said. "Try not to damage anything expensive. That means do not touch anything." The students in front repeated his words to those behind them. By the time I left the platform, the joke had reached the final row. I did not argue. A broken test could be repaired. A crowd that wanted entertainment could not. I counted what remained instead. I had 7 copper coins, 1 spare shirt, a basement bed, and eyes that saw mana move through stone. That was more than I had possessed when I died. The maintenance basement smelled of dust, hot metal, and old oil. Hundreds of damaged artifacts covered long shelves. Cracked lamps sat beside bent training swords. 3 cleaning golems stood in a corner with their heads facing backward. One of them walked into a wall every few seconds. It hit the stone, turned around, and hit it again. I respected its commitment. "Do not laugh," a girl said from beneath a workbench. "It has been doing that since morning. I think it is sensitive." She slid out holding a brass wrench. Copper hair was tied behind her head. A gray apron covered her academy uniform and a dark stain crossed one cheek. "Lunia," she said, "second year artifact track. You are the famous glowing wire boy." The story traveled quickly. Gavor sent 3 messengers. One of them brought a sketch. She showed me a scrap of paper. It depicted me hugging a crystal while tears poured from my eyes. The artist had given the crystal muscular arms. "The crystal looks strong," I said. Linnea stared at me for a moment, then laughed once. It was not cruel. She pointed to the shelves. "Braskin ordered you to repair 12 training lamps before dawn. If you fail, he will charge you for the parts." "Heh? How ma suaku small rush?" 30 silver. "I have 7 copper. And then I recommend success." I opened the first lamp. The metal shell held a small mana crystal and 6 engraved channels. 2 channels were broken. A third led back into itself. The design looked like a toaster built by someone who hated breakfast. I could see the flow, but I could not touch it. My fingers passed through the glowing lines. For the next 5 hours, I worked with normal tools. I soldered silver wire, replaced cracked plates, and cleaned burned crystal dust. I repaired 1 lamp. 11 remained. My hands knew tools from my first life. Magic did not care. It followed rules I did not yet understand. At sunset, Gavor entered the basement with 6 students behind him. Each held a dinner tray. "We came to inspect the labor class," he said. One student counted the lamps. 1 repaired. "Impressive. At this speed, he will finish before old age kills him." Gavor placed a broken wand on my bench. Its gold grip carried his family seal. "Fix this too." Lunia picked it up. "The reserve chamber is split. This is not a student repair." Then the student should not have dropped it. He never touched it. Gavor's smile thinned. Are you volunteering to pay? Lunea's hand tightened around her wrench. Her own workbench bore a debt notice. Sha did not have 30 silver either. I took the wand from her. Leave it. Gavor nodded to his friends. You heard him. The great wire seer has accepted responsibility. They left their empty trays on my repaired lamp and walked out laughing. Lunea kicked the door after it closed. His family charges the academy 3 gold to replace one of those, she said. The actual core costs 20 silver. A good business. It is theft. The best businesses often look similar from the basement. The last daylight vanished through the narrow window. A bell rang above us. Midnight approached, then the wires inside every artifact went dark. Silver light appeared around my hand. A calm voice spoke directly into my mind. It told me that my awakening had found an unregistered interaction with closed mana circuits. 3 hidden classes were available. The first was Spell Hacker. It could seize 1 active spell each day. The second was Circuit Archmage. It increased the power of spells I personally cast by half. The third was Mana Engineer. It added no strength, no defense, and no mana. Its only privilege was external access to any visible circuit. Lunea could not hear the voice. She watched me stare at my hand. Are you about to faint? She asked. I am choosing a career. Choose one with food. Jesus, Spell Hacker sounded powerful. Once each day was not enough. Circuit Archmage sounded even better. I had no spells to improve. Mana Engineer sounded like job for it already forced on me. It was also the only class that did not say the circuit had to belong to me. I chose it. Cold light ran from my eyes to my fingertips. The lines inside the broken wand became sharp and solid. I saw 12 junctions, 3 leaks, and 1 connection that had been deliberately reversed. At the same moment, the ranking board in the dining hall announced my class to the whole academy. The basement ceiling shook with distant laughter. Lunea looked upward. Mana Engineer, 0 attribute growth. They are reading it aloud. How kind. Relin, that is an old utility class. It was removed from the combat list 200 years ago. I touched the first glowing junction. The line moved with my finger. It felt like pulling a hot wire through ice. I disconnected the reversed channel and joined it to the cracked reserve chamber. 1 unit of my own mana vanished. Pain ran through my nail. The wand's input chamber drew 20 units from the bench crystal. Before the change, 16 units had leaked into its handle. Only 4 reached the tip. I moved a second junction. The leak fell to 7. I moved a third. The leak fell to 2. The wand's output rose from 4 units to 18. Blue fire burst from its tip and struck the testing plate. The plate jumped off the bench, flew across the room, and knocked the backward cleaning golem onto its back. The golem's legs continued walking in the air. Lunea did not laugh. Her eyes moved from the wand to the plate, then back to me. That reserve was split, she whispered. No, 1 line was feeding the split on purpose. You repaired it without replacing anything. I moved 3 connections. She grabbed the measuring gauge. Again, I tried a 4th change. My fingertips went numb at once. The light inside the wand shook and a thin burn opened across my palm. I released it. The system's voice calmly informed me that my safe limit was 3 changes each hour. A 4th change risked nerve damage. A 5th could stop my hand from moving for a day. That was useful information. It would have been more useful before the burn. Lunea poured cooling oil over my palm. Your hand is smoking. Only a little. Hands should smoke 0. Above us, an alarm began to scream. The mana lines in the ceiling turned red. Lunea and I ran upstairs. We reached the dining hall as the central furnace split open. 214 students stood between the tables. A sphere of orange mana swelled beneath the kitchen floor. The safety barrier flickered, failed, and vanished. Gavor stood beside the control pillar with his family wand in his hand. The same wand he had left on my bench was still behind us in the basement. This one was a matching control key. I saw his seal connected directly to the furnace's broken channel. Gavor had tried to overload the basement line. He had expected 12 lamps to explode around me. Instead, my repaired wand had closed the leak. The pressure had traveled backward into the dining hall. His face told me he had just understood the same thing. And, everyone get down, a teacher shouted. The furnace held 60 units of compressed fire. Its shell was built to contain 30. Students rushed toward the doors, and benches overturned. Trays crashed. A kitchen worker fell beside the furnace, trapped beneath a copper shelf. On the other side of the room, a rare gold core rolled from the broken second control pillar. And Gavir lunged for it. I went to the worker. Lunea reached him with me. And together, we lifted the shelf to the old man and old man crawled free as the furnace casing cracked. The crowd had no time to escape. I put my burned hand against the control pillar. The furnace circuit opened before my eyes. It had 9 junctions. I had already exceeded my safe limit. I needed 4 changes. The first cut the fuel line. Pain stabbed through my wrist. The second connected the pressure chamber to the hall barrier. My thumb stopped moving. The orange sphere collapsed inward. A red dome formed over the crowd. Students who had been running struck its inner wall and bounced back like thrown pillows. They stared at me through the light. The third change connected Gavor's control wand to the barrier anchor. The wand flew from his hand and dragged him into the center of the hall. A smaller red shield wrapped around him. It was perfectly safe and completely impossible to open from inside. Gavor hammered on it with both fists. The entire dining hall watched. "Release me," he shouted. "I'm busy." Neither furnace still held 18 units of fire. The dome could not absorb them. I made the 4th change. Every finger went numb. The remaining flow turned toward the kitchen ovens. 40 oven doors slammed shut at once. Heat roared through their stones. Dough left from the evening shift rose, browned, and burst from the trays in round golden loaves. The smell of hot bread filled the hall. Then the furnace went quiet. For one breath, nobody spoke. The old kitchen worker raised both hands. "We are alive!" Then 200 voices exploded around me. Students pointed at the red dome. Others pointed at Gavor, still trapped inside his smaller shield. Someone lifted one of the fresh loaves over his head like a trophy. The zero growth class stopped 60 units. Mike, he changed the first, changed the furnace. Mikey, Gavor's wand caused it. Why is Gavor in a bubble? The last question spread fastest. Now the dining hall's record crystal replayed the event on this in the wall. It showed Gavor taking the gold core while Linnea and I lifted the trapped worker. Then it showed the monopath from his control key to the broken furnace. His friends stopped standing near him. Master Braskin arrived with 6 guards. He took one look at the wall and ordered the recording covered. It was too late. More than 200 students had already copied it into message stones. By the time the shield released Gavor, the recording had reached every dormitory. He stepped out with his red coat, scorched brown, and a warm loaf balanced on his head. Nobody admitted placing it there. Linnea stood beside me, still holding the old worker's arm. She looked at my useless hand, then at the gold core Gavor had tried to steal. "You chose him first," she said quietly. "The core was not trapped under a shelf. The old worker heard us. So did the students closest to him." The words traveled through the hall. Before dawn, the academy clerk restored my meal allowance. The kitchen staff collected 30 silver as a reward. The ranking board returned my name and moved it from 400th place to 241st. My personal mana remained 10. My strength remained 11. My defense remained 9. My repaired wand now controlled 18 units instead of 4. That was enough progress for one night. Linnea took me back to the basement kitchen. The workers gave us roast chicken with crisp skin, thick onion soup, and slices of the bread my mistake had baked. Butter melted into the hot center. The chicken carried salt, pepper, and a sweet red glaze. I had not eaten that well in either of my lives. Linnea wrapped my hand in clean white cloth. 3 safe changes, she said. "Tomorrow, I will make a tool that carries part of the strain." "Why?" "Because I want to know how far this can go." She tightened the knot. "And because you saved people before you reached for money. Most heroes do it in the opposite order." The warmth in the room had nothing to do with the ovens. Then a blue wire appeared beneath my chair. It was thicker than my arm. It passed through the basement wall and descended deep under the academy. Linnea could not see it. I followed it to a sealed iron door behind the shelves. My touch opened a narrow viewing slit. An ancient crystal waited beyond it. A metal face floated inside the blue light. Its eyes opened. A woman's voice spoke through every repaired lamp in the basement. "Unregistered engineer found," it said. "City harvest begins in 72 hours. Please prevent the capital from becoming fueled by..." The next morning I woke to the sound of someone trying to remove my door with a hammer. The door lost. It fell inward, and 4 academy guards entered the basement room. Gavor followed them. He had replaced his burned prefect coat, but a red circle still marked his forehead where the hot loaf had rested. Half the academy had already named him the Bread Prince. I had learned that from the messages carved into my door before the guards destroyed it. "Relin," Gavor said, "you are accused of sabotaging the dining hall furnace and using an illegal class to assault a prefect." Linnea sat beside my bed with a cup of tea. She took one slow drink. "He saved 214 people," she said. "He trapped me in a barrier." "That may be why only 214 people complained." One guard coughed into his glove. Gavor's face tightened. "Master Braskin has ordered a formal certification trial. If Relin proves his class is safe, the charges will be removed. If he fails, he will be expelled and charged for the furnace." "How much?" I asked. 40 gold? The furnace was worth 8. Linnea put down her tea. I repaired it last winter. The Gavor family has updated its valuation. Did they cover it in diamonds? The trial begins at noon. Gavor threw a folded contract onto my blanket. I will represent the Academy Artifact Guild. 10 gold against your place here. He expected fear. I checked the contract instead. The winner received 10 gold plus the certification fee. The trial would be public. Every artifact and spell would be recorded by an independent royal crystal. Braskin had probably written the rules because he wanted a legal reason to remove me. He had also given me exactly what I needed. I accept. And Gavor blinked. So read the last page, Sekbert Singh. I did. You will face 6 unknown artifacts. Then you should bring 6 that work. The guard coughed again. This time it sounded like laughter. Gavor left without the expression he had brought in. Linnea closed the broken door as far as it would go. It leaned sideways in the frame. The trial is a trap, she said. Yes. Braskin chooses the artifacts. Yes. You can make 3 changes each hour. Also, yes. I dislike how calm you are. She pulled a wrapped bundle from beneath the bed. Inside lay a thin brass needle attached to 3 rings and a coil of silver thread. I used your 30 silver, she said. All of it. I lifted the needle. Blue mana lines appeared through the metal. Lunia had layered 6 tiny channels around an empty center. It does not change circuits, she explained. It carries the heat away from your nerves. You still make the connection. The needle takes half the strain. How many safe changes? Perhaps 6. Perhaps? I finished it 10 minutes ago. There was no volunteer foolish enough to test it. Yeah, she looked at me. I looked at the needle. I see that you found one. We spent the morning in the repair room. The first test lamp improved after 1 change. The second needed 2. On the 7th change, the needle became hot enough to boil a drop of water, but my finger still moved. My safe limit had doubled from 3 changes to 6. The effective distance had grown from direct touch to the length of the needle. That length was slightly less than my hand. It was not impressive until a spell was on the other side of a sharp blade. At noon, 600 students crowded into the certification courtyard. Those without seats stood on walls and roofs. Food sellers moved through the crowd with bread shaped like Gavor's head. Business had reacted to last night faster than the academy. The ranking board showed my name in gray at 241st. Gavor stood at 32nd. His family emblem covered one side of the arena. Master Braskin occupied the judge's platform. Beside him floated the royal record crystal. This trial will determine whether Mana Engineer is a safe support class, Braskin announced. The candidate must identify, repair, and activate 6 artifacts. He may not replace a core. He may not receive help. Failure of any artifact will count as a failed trial. 6 objects rose from beneath the platform. I saw the trap before. The cloth covers fell. Every object held a black circuit. Black mana was used for curses. It did not appear naturally inside academy training equipment. The first object was a healing bracelet. Its circuit drained blood instead of restoring it. The second was a warming stone that would freeze whatever touched it. The third was a shield badge with its pressure flow reversed. When activated, it would crush the wearer. The other 3 were worse. Braskin had not selected damaged artifacts. He had selected 6 quiet methods of murder. Linnea stood behind the boundary rope. Her face lost its color as she examined the first readings. Gavor smiled at me from the opposite side. He believed I had 2 choices: activate the artifacts and suffer, or refuse and lose. I saw a third. The healing bracelet contained 8 junctions. One directed mana into the curse loop. Another defined the direction of the loop. I had assumed the curse itself gave the artifact its nature, but the black mana did not contain an order to harm me. It only followed the engraved path. I moved to the first junction with Lunia's needle. The curse loop opened. I reversed the second. Black light entered my wrist. The crowd gasped. My strength rose from 11 to 17. My defense rose from 9 to 14. The effect would last 10 minutes. I had not destroyed the curse. I had made it flow in the opposite direction. For several breaths, the courtyard remained silent. Then the royal crystal announced that the healing bracelet had become a strengthening bracelet with an output of 30 units. The artifact was supposed to produce 12. Students stood on their benches. He turned black mana into an enhancement. That is impossible. The crystal just measured it. One of Gavor's friends quietly placed his bread-shaped snack under his seat. Braskin gripped the edge of the platform. Unexpected performance does not equal a repair. Continue. The warming stone needed 1 change. I connected its cold return line to its own intake. The frozen output looped inward and canceled itself. The remaining flow produced clean heat. The stone had received 15 units and wasted 9. It now released 14. An assistant held it up. Warm air crossed the first rows. Applause began near the kitchen workers. It spread through the courtyard. I used 2 changes on the shield badge. Its crushing field turned outward when the assistant activated it. A clear dome pushed every loose object 3 steps away. It also pushed Gaver's chair off the platform. He landed on his back. 600 witnesses laughed. I had made 5 changes. The brass needle glowed orange. 3 artifacts remained. Braskin raised one hand. The candidate has altered the designs. That violates standard repair procedure. The royal clerk beside him shook his head. The contract requires safe activation. All 3 activations were safe. I am head of this faculty. The record crystal does not care. That sentence received more applause than my shield. Gaver climbed back onto the platform. Dust covered his expensive coat. Moved to the combat test. The 4th object opened before me. It was not an artifact. It was a control key connected to Gavor's wand. The 5th and 6th objects were empty shells. Their circuits led under the floor and into the arena barrier. The 6th artifact trial had been a lie. The final stage was one prepared spell using the entire courtyard as its body. Gaver stepped into the ring. A repair class must remain stable during combat, he said. Stop one attack if you can. Flame gathered around his wand. The crowd's laughter faded. Even with my temporary enhancement, I had no combat skill. Gaver had trained for 8 years. His fire lance held 90 units of mana. My repaired wand controlled 18. The difference was large enough to fit a funeral inside it. Gaver lifted his weapon. He took his time. He wanted everyone to see the gap between us. Red lines formed from his reserve to the spell core. 3 shaped the fire, 2 compressed it, 1 marked me as the target. The moment the final line closed, the spell became fixed. By every rule in this world, no one except Gavor could alter it. I stepped forward and placed the brass needle against the flame. The crowd shouted. The needle touched no solid object, but it touched the circuit I could see. I moved the target line from me to Gavor. That would have sent the lance back into his chest. I did not need to kill him. I moved the compression line instead. The fire lance unfolded. Its narrow point widened into a curved wall. 90 units of flame wrapped around Gavor without burning him. A red sphere closed from his boots to his head. He lowered his wand. The sphere followed it. He tried to step away. The sphere rolled with him. The bread prints had become a red-orange. For 2 heartbeats, the courtyard was quiet. Then 600 people shouted at once. Students climbed onto the walls for a better view. Message stones rose above every row. The royal record crystal repeated the transformation from 3 angles. Gavor struck the inner wall. This is my spell. It still is, I said. Then release it. Now you cast it. Like the laughter doubled. The system's voice spoke inside my head. It confirmed the first derived function of external access. A spell's purpose did not come from its name. Purpose came from circuit order. My class had not learned a shield spell. I had convinced a fire spell that it had always been a shield. The needle burned against my skin. I had made 7 changes, 1 beyond Lunea's estimate. I released the spell circuit. The flame vanished, and Gavor fell forward onto his hands. The royal crystal announced the result. All 6 trial objects had activated safely. Your candidate had controlled a spell carrying 90 units of mana. Certification passed. My name moved on the ranking board. 241st became 142. Then the crystal added the public contribution from the dining hall rescue. 142 became 83rd. The numbers shone over the courtyard. People who had laughed the night before now repeated my name. The artifact students calculated how much material my method could save. Combat students argued over whether their own spells could be changed. 3 teachers sent assistants to invite me to private meetings. The kitchen workers started selling the remaining Gavor bread for twice the price. Gavor stood slowly. He looked toward Braskin. Braskin did not look back. The royal clerk opened the prize box. 10 gold from the wager, 2 gold certification payment, total award 12 gold. I had begun the morning with no money because Lunea had spent my 30 silver. I now held 12 gold and a silver artifact badge. My personal statistics had returned to their low values as the reversed curse faded. My effective control had risen from 60 units during the furnace accident to 90 units in a formed combat spell. My public rank had risen by 158 places in less than a day. That was the kind of repair I understood. I picked up the healing bracelet. A tiny emblem glowed beneath its curse line. It was Gavor's family seal. I held it toward the royal crystal. Who prepared the trial artifacts? I asked. Gavor froze. The crystal enlarged the seal above the arena. Whispers moved through the crowd. The seal on the warming stone matched it. So did the mark inside the shield. Badge. Braskin stood. Gavor inspected them for safety. The seals proved nothing more. Lunea raised her voice from beyond the rope. A safety seal is placed after inspection. These marks sit beneath the curse channels. They were engraved first. Every artifact student understood. The whispers became accusations. Gavor had not merely known about the curses. His family tools had created them. This trial is over, Braskin said. The royal clerk faced him. The trial is recorded. Braskin's eyes moved to me. He was not laughing now. A useful trick, he said, but tricks become dangerous when their owners forget their station. He left the platform with his guards. The crowd opened for him, but nobody bowed. Gaver followed several steps behind. Someone rolled a bread loaf across his path. He kicked it away and nearly fell again. If the story reached the city market before we returned to the basement, merchants offered me damaged lamps, and Browson, a guard captain, asked whether I could improve shield badges. A bakery offered 1 silver if I signed a loaf. I declined the loaf. I accepted 3 lamps. Lunea and I spent 2 gold on silver thread, 4 small crystals, and a better workbench. I paid 1 gold against the debt notice on her wall. She stared at the receipt for a long time. You did not have to do that, she said. The needle earned half the prize. The needle almost cooked your hand, Elwen. Then it earned a smaller half. She smiled and changed the workshop sign. Said beneath her name, she wrote mine in small letters. For dinner, she filled 2 bowls with beef stew. The meat broke apart under the spoon. Potatoes and carrots had absorbed the dark sauce. Steam carried the smell of garlic and pepper through the basement. We wiped the bowls clean with thick pieces of bread, then divided 1 honey cake. Outside the door, students continued arguing about the trial. Some called me a fraud. More called me the first combat engineer in 2 centuries. The message board listed requests for demonstrations, interviews, and duels. Yesterday, the Academy had removed me from its records. Now it could not stop talking about me. Linnea tapped my spoon. Didn't? Do not become pleased with yourself. We still have a city harvest. I was thinking about the cake. That is acceptable. We returned to the ancient door after midnight. The huge blue line had divided into hundreds of thinner circuits. Each one ran toward a different academy building. I touched the iron lock with the brass needle. 2 changes opened it without breaking the seal. The chamber beyond held a crystal map of the entire academy. Every dormitory, classroom, kitchen, and training hall glowed as one part of a single machine. Nymeth's metal face floated over the map. Her silver eyes followed me. You redirected an active spell before launch. Said, external authority confirmed. Yet, what is the city harvest? I asked. A transfer of resident mana to an interworld gate. How many residents? Current capital population is 1,046,000. Lunea went still. I pointed to the academy map. This is only 1 district. Incorrect. The academy is the primary switch. Each city district is a reserve branch. Each resident is classified as a renewable cell. The map expanded. Blue lines spread far beyond the academy. They ran beneath houses, markets, guard towers, temples, and the royal palace. Small lights pulsed along them, more than 1 million. Who built this? Lunea asked. My civilization designed the first circuit, Nymeth answered. Your rulers completed it? A clock appeared inside the crystal. It showed 48 hours. Before I could ask another question, horns sounded above the academy. Black carriages entered the main gate. Royal guards marched around them. At their center rode a man in a white chancellor's coat. The academy bells announced his name across every tower. Chancellor Mazrin had arrived to activate the primary switch. The 3rd morning began with royal soldiers locking every workshop door. They took our 4 crystals, our silver thread, and Lunea's brass needle. They also took the beef stew pot because one guard claimed it might contain a hidden artifact. Lunea watched him carry it away. If he scratches that pot, she said, I will become the distant threat. The soldiers escorted us to the grand arena, where 4,000 witnesses had expected the ranking tournament. Instead, Braskin stood beside our seized property, while Mazrin watched from the royal balcony. Gavor waited behind them without his prefect coat. His rank had fallen from 32nd to 109th. Several spectators raised round loaves, and he lowered his eyes. Braskin lifted Lunea's needle. This illegal instrument was used to corrupt academy artifacts and invade a student's spell. Relin's certification is suspended. His prize money and workshop are seized pending judgment. My 9 gold disappeared from the public account board. My rank turned gray. The crowd split between demands for evidence and calls for my expulsion. The kitchen workers answered the loudest critics by banging metal trays together. Braskin waited until the noise settled. A class capable of altering another person's magic is too dangerous to remain free. For the safety of this academy, Relin will surrender his class seal and submit to mana confinement. Mazrin did not appear surprised. Braskin would not have dared to make that demand without royal support. A class seal cannot be removed without destroying the owner's mana channels, a woman said from the competitor's gate. The arena became quiet. Sorella walked onto the sand. She was the highest-ranked student in the academy. A dark blue coat covered light dueling armor. 3 silver rings floated behind her shoulders, each holding a prepared spell. Her mana score was 1,200. Mine was 10. Sorella stopped between Braskin and me. Royal tournament law requires proof before permanent confinement, she said. Show us the danger, Braskin frowned. This is a faculty matter. You announced it to 4,000 witnesses. A wave of agreement moved through the seats. Sorella faced the royal balcony. Chancellor Mazrin, I request a public safety test. If Relin loses control, I will stop him. Mazrin studied her, then me. Granted, he said. Braskin's mouth tightened. He had wanted a sentence, not a test, but he could not refuse after the Chancellor spoke. Very well, he said. Release the 3 faculty guardians. Metal doors opened beneath the arena. 3 stone figures stepped onto the sand. Each was twice my height. One carried a hammer, one carried a shield. The third had 4 arms and a furnace where its head should have been. Students in the front rows pulled back. Faculty guardians were used during monster attacks. Each held 100 units of reserve mana. Together, they could break the arena gates in less than a minute. This is not a safety test, Lunea called from the boundary. It is an execution. Braskin did not deny it. Relin may use his class, he announced. No external artifacts are permitted. He held up the brass needle so the crowd could see that I had nothing. The Hammer Guardian charged. I moved sideways. Its weapon struck the sand where my head had been. The impact threw me across the arena. My defense was still 9. I rolled, stood, and saw the Shield Guardian approaching from my left. The Furnace Guardian opened its chest. Orange light gathered inside. 3 machines, 300 units, more than 3 times the power of Gavor's Fire Lance. My direct touch limit was still 3 safe changes. Linnea caught my eye. She tapped the silver certification badge on her apron. I touched my own badge. Createn itasecosins, indeed, size thin mana line uncoiled around my wrist. Lunia had filled my hollow certification badge with a relay. Braskin had confiscated the obvious tool and left me wearing the better one. It changed nothing by itself, but its 5 silver channels carried heat away from my hand. My safe limit rose from 6 changes to 12. You planned this? I asked. Lunia shouted back, I know how much people enjoy stealing my tools. The furnace fired. I touched the edge of its orange beam with the relay line. The first change broke its target lock, and the beam passed over my shoulder and struck the Hammer Guardian. Stone armor exploded across the sand. The crowd roared. The Hammer Guardian's damage sensor now marked the furnace as a threat. I joined that sensor to its movement line. The Hammer Guardian charged the Furnace Guardian. Braskin rose from his seat. Just stop the trial. Mazarin lifted one finger. The hammer struck the furnace. Fire burst upward. The arena barrier caught it and turned red. The Shield Guardian reached me. Its edge hit my ribs before I could move. Pain cut through my side. I rolled beneath its second strike and placed my hand against its stone ankle. Inside the Guardian, a gold ownership line connected its core to Braskin's command ring. Every text called that line absolute, but Mana had no eyes and could not read a family seal. Ownership was only another connection. I cut the gold line. The Shield Guardian stopped. I connected its 100-unit reserve to the plain iron sword at my belt. The sword screamed. White light ran along its dull edge. The metal had been designed to hold 20 units. The relay badge divided the excess across its silver channels. Cracks appeared in the blade, but it did not break. The royal measuring crystal announced the flow. External weapon output 100 units. 4,000 people heard it. I connected the reserve of the damaged Hammer Guardian. External weapon output 200 units. The audience stood. I connected the Furnace Guardian. Yet our external weapon output 300 units. Teachers stared at their staffs. Cyrano nobles covered their family weapons. Sorella looked interested while Braskin backed away from the rail. I lifted the iron sword. 300 units made it feel lighter than air. I swung once. The white arc crossed the sand. It cut the control seals from all 3 guardians. Then it continued upward and sliced the gold faculty emblem from Braskin's platform. The emblem fell in front of him and split into 2 equal pieces. The iron sword shattered in my hand. The kitchen workers struck their trays. Artifact students joined with tools, and combat students stamped their boots. Above them, the royal crystal repeated 300 units beside my unchanged mana score of 10. Braskin pointed at me. He stole Academy property. Arrest him. 6 guards entered the ring. Sorella moved 1 step. Her floating rings opened. Ice, wind, and lightning filled the air behind her. The guards stopped. The test proved control, she said. He redirected 3 guardians without injuring a spectator. He destroyed them. I looked at the stone figures. All 3 stood without control seals, but their cores were intact. They need new labels, as I said. The first rows laughed. Braskin's face became the color of old milk. Linnea entered with record plates from the faculty vault. Your guards left me beside these while they carried away my stew pot. The plates showed 12 new Guardian cores bought for 900 gold, 6 cheap replacements installed in their place, and 200 defective wands purchased from Gavor's family. A final record listed payments for maintaining secret circuits beneath the dormitories. Braskin turned toward Mazrin. Chancellor, these documents concern city security. Mazrin's expression did not change. When Shani said, then you should have secured them. Braskin understood that Mazrin would not protect him in public. Gavor stepped away from his former master. Braskin ordered the curse channels, Gavor said. Every face turned toward him. He said Relin would expose the contracts. He ordered me to break the basement line and fake an unstable awakening. Braskin stared at him. Your family signed every order. Because you threatened to remove our contract. You begged for my help after falling to 109th place. They exposed one another through every record stone until the clerks stopped them. I had seen cabinets with more loyalty. Braskin tore a black ring from beneath his sleeve. A faculty containment golem dropped from the platform. Its metal arms opened around me. Contain the saboteur, he shouted. The order line flashed from his ring to the golem. I still had 1 safe change left in the relay badge. I moved at the target connection. The golem turned. Braskin ran 3 steps. The metal arms closed around him and folded into a square cage. His face remained visible between the bars. The 2 halves of his fallen faculty emblem lay at his feet. The arena erupted. Students shouted my name, embarrassed teachers lowered their heads, and merchants offered bets on how long Braskin would remain inside his own golem. Mazrin stood on the balcony. Master Braskin is suspended, he announced. His accounts and contracts will be seized. Gavor and his family will face a separate hearing. Relin's certification and property are restored. My 9 gold returned to the account board, then 60 more appeared beneath it. The Royal Audit Office offers 60 gold for evidence of theft exceeding 500 gold, the clerk explained. The ranking board restored my name, the Guardians moved me to 41st, the Safety Award to 24th, and the Audit Evidence to 16th. 4,000 people watched every change while Braskin stood inside a box. The system's voice confirmed another derived function. Mana ownership existed only as a closed authorization line. External access could open it. I had gained no new cheat. I had only found another wire. Sorella approached me after the guards carried Braskin away in his cage. You controlled 300 units with 10 of your own, she said. For 1 strike. How many strikes could you survive? 1 was unpleasant. She nodded as if that answer satisfied her. The tournament begins this afternoon. Reach the final tomorrow. Why? I want to see whether you can touch a spell before it touches you. There was no flirtation in her voice. She sounded like a scientist asking whether a stone would break when dropped from a tower. Lenia joined us. He will reach the final after he eats. Sorella considered that. Reasonable. Wow, are you people? Riga Sama Successor walked away, applauded. By sunset, I had won 2 preliminary matches. A windblade became a breeze that scattered its caster's papers. A stone armor spell opened like a flower and left its owner standing in padded shorts before 2,000 witnesses. I earned another 11 gold and advanced to the final group. More important, neither fight required more than 2 changes. Outside, children carried toy brass needles and artifact shops claimed they had always supported Mana engineers. Lunea and I escaped to the roof of the maintenance tower. The kitchen workers had packed grilled chicken skewers, rice with red pepper sauce, and sliced peaches in a cold clay bowl. Smoke and spice clung to the tender meat. Peach juice cooled the burns on my lips after the pepper. For a while, we ate without speaking. The city stretched around us under a darkening sky. Lamps lit one district after another. Now I could see the hidden lines beneath them. Every street was a branch. Every tower was a junction. Every home sat above a collection channel. Linnea touched the cracked silver badge around my wrist. You reached 12 changes today. The badge survived. Your hand shook during the second match. Only a little. Hands should shake 0. I looked at her. You have said something similar before. You keep giving me reasons. And she loosened the relay and rubbed cooling salve across my wrist. And each of her fingers were careful. The anger in her face was not directed at me. It came from fear. In my first life, I repaired machines for people who wanted them finished before they broke, I said. I became good at working while something was burning. She paused. A first life? I had not told anyone. The words had come easily because the roof felt far from the arena and the city felt too large to lie beneath. I died in another world, I said. Then I woke at the crystal. Linnea searched my face. Was the charger a monster? No, it was badly made. That is less heroic. Considerably. She began laughing. I joined her. The sound felt strange and warm in my chest. When she finished, she rested her shoulder against mine. Then try not to die while repairing this world. I have already put your name on my sign. Below us, the city bells marked midnight. Nimith's voice came through my badge. Engineer, return to the core. We found the ancient chamber changed. The crystal map now filled the entire room. Nimith no longer appeared as a floating face. A silver figure stood within the central column, shaped like a woman in a long metal coat. Your access restored 32% of my memory, she said. I remember the builders. Images appeared above the city map. Tall figures stood around a black gate. Worlds floated behind them like colored glass. Lines of light connected each world to a vast machine. My people designed the system to awaken mana in young worlds, Nimith said. We claimed it would protect them. The true purpose was cultivation. Strong populations produce more energy. Developed capitals become harvest nodes. Lunia stared at the million small lights. You helped build this. Yes. Can you stop it? No. My authority was removed when I objected. The Chancellor holds the current activation seal. I examined the map. Every city branch converged beneath the Academy arena. Why there? The tournament final gathers the capital's most active mana signatures in one location. Their spells ignite the main conduit. Tomorrow's final is not entertainment. It is the start command. The clock changed from 24 hours to 23 hours and 59 minutes. One district on the map flashed black. For a single second, 10,000 resident lights dimmed together. Across the city, people screamed as their mana vanished and returned. The system had completed its first extraction test. The fourth morning smelled of fried eggs, hot cheese, and panic. The panic came from the streets. The rest came from Lunea's stove. 10,000 people in the Eastern District had lost their mana for 1 second during the night. Healers filled the roads. City officials called it a harmless fluctuation. Nobody who had collapsed believed them. The tournament final was not canceled. That told me more than the official announcement. Lunea placed a cheese omelet on my plate. The edges were brown and crisp. Roasted tomatoes burst under my fork, and warm rolls released steam when I tore them open. Eat all of it, she said. You sound like a military commander. A military commander would not give you butter. On the table lay a new glove. Silver thread covered the fingers. 6 small crystals sat across the back of the hand. Thin lines connected them to the relay badge. The badge spread strain across 5 channels, Lunea said. This spreads it across 30. It also extends your reach to 3 steps if you release the silver thread. Cost 50 gold. I stopped chewing. You told me to improve it. I did. So I improved it more with most of our money. You can either save money or save a city. The material seller refused to accept a city. I put on the glove. The channels fitted my hand perfectly. My safe limit rose from 12 changes to 30. The glove could isolate a flow of 3,000 units for less than a minute. After that, the crystals would melt. It was not enough to control the city circuit. It was enough to reach the arena's master junction. Lunea pushed the last roll toward me. You need to enter the final, touch the center seal, and give Nemeth access. Sorella will be waiting. Her mana score is 1,200. Then do not let her hit you. Excellent strategy. I studied at a famous academy. She tried to smile. Her hands gave her away. They shook as she adjusted the glove. I closed my fingers around hers. I willed to reach the seal. That was not the part I was worried about. For one breath, neither of us moved. And then every academy bell rang. The final had begun. 20,000 people filled the grand arena. Thousands more watched through public crystals in markets and squares. Rumors about the extraction test had spread, but Chancellor Mazrin promised answers after the tournament. He sat above the arena with one hand on a white control staff. I saw a black line inside it. The line descended into the royal balcony, passed through the arena barrier, and joined the city conduit below the sand. Mazrin already held the activation key. My name appeared on the tournament board at 16th place. 7 competitors remained above me. To reach the final, I had to win 3 matches. The first opponent wore living steel armor, powered by 200 units. He introduced himself for nearly a minute. His family titles lasted longer than some wars. When the signal sounded, the armor covered him from head to toe. Yorikaisa's spikes extended from his shoulders. Fire burned behind his helmet. He looked like a cupboard that had become angry about furniture taxes. He charged. I released 1 silver thread from the glove and touched the armor's balance line. 1 change moved its forward command into the knee locks. Both legs stopped. The upper half continued. The armored fighter tipped forward and slid across the sand on his chest. He stopped at my boots. The referee counted 10 seconds while 20,000 spectators laughed. My opponent gave the sand a formal family introduction. The board moved me from 16th to 9th. The second opponent was a wind archer. She stayed 50 steps away beyond my reach. Her first arrow split into 12 blades. I could see every circuit, but I could not touch any of them. The glove did not make me fast. It did not make my body strong. I ran behind a stone pillar as the blades cut lines through the arena floor. The audience saw the limit of my class. Combat students cheered. Several teachers looked relieved. The archer fired again. This time I watched where her attack crossed the arena barrier. Every tournament spell passed through a safety filter. The filter was part of the arena, and the arena line ran beneath my feet. I touched the sand. One change connected the filter's slowing branch to the arrows. 12 wind blades became 12 slow circles drifting through the air. Children in the front row reached over the rail and tapped them with wooden sticks. The archer fired a third time. I connected the return branch. Her own wind lifted her from the ground and carried her gently into the judge's pool. She landed with a splash. The royal clerk raised one hand. Safe removal from the ring. Relin wins. My name moved from 9th to 4th. By then, nobody in the arena remained seated. The third match was against the captain of last year's champion team. He carried a flame sword in one hand and a shield that stored impact in the other. Together, they held 600 units. He did not give a speech. He had watched the earlier matches. He attacked before I reached the floor circuit. The flame sword passed close enough to burn my coat. His shield struck my shoulder and threw me down. Pain ran through the same ribs the guardian had injured. The crowd shouted his name. He raised the sword for the final blow. I pressed the glove against his shield. The shield stored force from every impact. A return line released that force only when he gave a command. When I connected it to the flame sword's intake, all stored impact entered the weapon at once. The sword pulled itself from his hand, flew upward, and buried its harmless hilt in the arena roof. The shield dragged his other arm after it. For one moment, the champion hung above the sand with both boots kicking. The referee looked up. Leaving the combat surface counts as elimination. The crowd exploded. My name moved from 4th to 2nd. Only Sorella remained above me. She entered as the last daylight faded and the midnight bells approached. Her 3 spell rings had expanded into circles taller than she was. Lightning moved through the first. Ice filled the second. The third contained compressed wind. Her total prepared output was 1,800 units. I had never controlled more than 300. The arena announcer listed our statistics. Sorella's strength was 84. Her defense was 79. Her mana was 1,200. My strength was 11. My defense was 9. My mana was 10. And the numbers appeared side by side across every public crystal in the capital. People laughed, but the laughter sounded different from the Awakening Hall. It held disbelief rather than contempt. The betting board gave Sorella 9 chances in 10. I spent 1 gold on myself. Lunea saw the transaction from the side gate. Only 1 4-star watch? We spent the rest on the glove. Sorella heard her. The corner of her mouth moved. Then the signal sounded. Lightning crossed the arena. I saw it before release, but Sorella stood 30 steps away. The silver thread reached 3. I touched the safety filter. The black city line inside it pulsed at the same moment. Half of Sorella's lightning vanished below the arena. The other half struck the sand beside me and threw me into the air. I hit the ground hard. Smoke rose from my coat. Sorella did not launch her next spell. She looked down. The arena stole 600 units from my attack, she said. The royal announcer cut her voice from the broadcast. The audience near the field still heard. Questions moved through the seats. People remembered the Eastern District. They looked at Mazarin's white staff. Continue the match, the Chancellor ordered, and Sorella sent 1 small ice shard toward the barrier instead of me. The instant it crossed the filter, half its mana drained into the hidden line. She turned toward the royal balcony. This tournament is feeding the city circuit. Mazarin stood. Captain Sorella, complete your duty. My duty is to protect the capital. Then obey. The white staff flashed. 6 royal mages rose from hidden seats around the arena. Each wore a gold mask. Their prepared spells joined the barrier and sealed every exit. The tournament board erased the word final. In its place appeared activation preparation. 20,000 people saw it. The crowd surged toward the gates. The gates did not open. Panic moved through the upper seats. Mazarin raised both hands. His voice filled the arena. Remain calm. The capital faces a mana famine. Border barriers have lost half their power in 5 years. 3 frontier cities have already fallen. Today's transfer will restore the national defense and save millions. By draining us, someone shouted, we thought each citizen will surrender only a measured share. Nimeth's voice came through my glove. False. Full extraction command detected. Lunia heard it through her matching relay. She ran to the royal record crystal and connected Nimeth's message. The ancient engineer's voice filled the arena. Projected survivors after extraction, 0. The panic stopped for 1 terrible second. Then 20,000 people began shouting at Mazarin. The Chancellor's scar turned white. The creators promised a controlled loss. Your contract contains no survival limit, Nimith replied. The city diagram appeared above the field. Every resident shown as a small blue cell. The lines converged under the center seal between Saralata and me. Mazrin struck the balcony with his staff. Arrest the engineer. Begin activation now. The 6 royal mages released their spells. Fire, ice, stone, lightning, wind, and black chains entered the arena barrier. Combined output passed 3,000 units. They expected the barrier to hold the crowd while their spells struck me. I saw something simpler. The arena had thousands of engraved lines, hundreds of anchors, and 32 control pillars. It looked too large to change, but size did not create a new rule. A large formation was still one closed circuit. I pressed the relay glove against the center seal. 30 junctions opened across my fingers. The first 6 disconnected Mazrin's target commands. The next 6 connected each royal spell to a barrier pillar. Flame raced up the first pillar. Ice covered the second. Stone wrapped the third. Lightning struck the fourth. Wind lifted the fifth. Black chains closed around the sixth. The royal mages were trapped by their own elements. The crowd saw all 6 gold masks turn toward the chancellor. I made another 12 changes. The barrier stopped facing inward. It turned toward the royal balcony. Mazrin's eyes widened. 3,000 units struck beneath his platform. The entire balcony rose from the wall like a launched tray. Mazrin, his chair, his white staff, and 2 tables of tournament medals flew across the arena. The barrier caught the servants gently. It did not catch Mazrin gently. He landed in the Biwanadorama, the prize display, at the edge of the field. Gold cups collapsed around him. A large first-place medal dropped over his head and hung from one ear. So as 20,000 witnesses stared. Then the arena shook with laughter and shouting. Every public crystal in the capital repeated his flight. Mazrin tried to stand. The first-place cup was stuck around his boot. Sorella lowered her spell rings. Relin appears to have won. The royal clerk looked at the broken balcony, the trapped mages, and the chancellor inside the prize table. He raised my flag. Ednin Bartstopne, but the tournament board moved my name from second to first. When Eboasi Hipibiamasn's what Chum as a 1 gold bet returned 11. The automatic prize vault transferred 500 gold to my account before Mazrin could reach his staff. And the audience chanted my name. If Hiarkani or market crystals showed strangers hugging one another, artifact students held their needles above their heads. The Eastern District rang every temple bell at once. My personal mana was still 10. My relay glove controlled 3,000 units for 41 seconds. My rank was now first. My money had risen from 30 gold after materials to 540 gold. For one brief moment, all 3 numbers felt enormous. Then the crystals on my glove began to melt. The 30th change opened the master switch for Nimith. She seized the arena projection and displayed Mazrin's contract. The creators had promised to refill the border barriers. The payment clause described every living mana channel in the capital as transferable material. Mazrin tore the metal from his ear. Blood ran down his neck. "You think exposing me changes the famine," he shouted. "You think jokes and applause will stop the monsters outside our borders. I watched 3 cities burn. I carried children out of streets with no barrier. If one capital must pay to protect the rest, I will make that choice." The laughter died. His reason was real. So was the fear behind it. That did not make 1 million lives his property. "You did not choose to pay," I said. "You chose everyone else." The words crossed the public crystals. People in every district answered, but that's with the same refusal. Mazrin reached the white staff. Sorella sent ice toward him. A hidden black barrier rose from beneath the prize display and stopped it. "Emergency authority," Mazrin said. "Primary switch, activate." The white staff broke in his hands. A black pulse entered the arena floor. Every blue line in the city turned red. People collapsed in the seats. Light rose from their skin. Beyond the arena, streams of mana climbed from roofs, roads, and towers. The entire capital glowed. Like a burning circuit board, the sky split open. A black gate formed above the academy. It was wider than the arena. Tall figures moved behind it, surrounded by machines larger than cities. The system's voice changed. Its calm tone became deep and unfamiliar. "Primary conduit repaired," it said. "External access key accepted." One of the figures beyond the gate looked directly at me. Thank you, Mana Engineer. Vi ser nå fra dir said, sorry. Yet sent, you have repaired our door. Yeah. The 5th day Hurrieta began beneath a black gate. It covered half the sky while red streams rose from the capital. The circuit carried 3 million units each second. My melted glove had survived 3,000 for less than a minute. "Nimith," I said, can we cut the collection line? Her voice came through the sort of damaged arena crystal. "Cutting it will collapse the residents' mana cores. Closing the gate is locked. Reversing it is theoretically possible. Linnea crawled from beneath the projection stand. Blood marked one sleeve, but she still held her tool bag. I just like that word, she said. It is better than impossible, I answered. A figure stepped through the gate. The harvest envoy descended without wings. White armor covered a body 3 times my height, and 6 hands held 6 control seals. Its output passed 100,000 units and cracked the measuring crystal. Node quality exceeds prediction, it said. 1 million mature cells, like high combat density. Harvest accepted, trust and commerce first. Mazrin pulled himself from the prize table with a cup still around one boot. You promised to restore our border barriers, he shouted. The envoy dropped a coin-sized crystal on payment. Mazrin Quarter stared and out. I think that cannot power the national barrier. It will power 1 border section for 3 days. The agreement said full restoration. Your species translated the agreement. Mazrin's face emptied. He had accepted mass death for a promise that could not protect 1 wall for a week. Hundreds of surviving public crystals broadcast the exchange, and anger replaced fear across the capital. The envoy turned its blank face toward me. External access key will be preserved. Your class is useful. That is kind, I said. Compliance is not required. Less kind. Black chains assign appeared around my arms and throat. Sorella struck first, pouring 1,200 units of lightning into the envoy. Its armor absorbed everything as Sorella landed beside me. Blood ran from one corner of her mouth. Its armor returned my spell to the gate. I saw the return circuit. It ran from the armor through the crown and into the world beyond the gate. Keep it busy, I said. For how long? I do not know. Unreasonable. She opened all 3 rings. I accept. Her 3 rings buried the envoy inside ice, wind, and lightning. Guards, students, and the 6 royal mages used the cover to evacuate the crowd. The mages removed their gold masks and abandoned Mazrin beside the prize table. The city extraction continued. My strength fell from 11 to 10 as my mana channels weakened. My vision blurred. Red lines filled everything I saw. Nymeth projected 3 junctions that the collector lay beneath the center seal, the regulator inside her core chamber, and the ownership lock in Mazrin's staff. The white staff lay near the chancellor. The circuit corrects 1 change in less than 3 seconds, Nimeth warned. Then we connect the places, I said. The broken pillars held silver conductor. The royal mages had spell rings, and my melted glove still held 30 control channels. Linnea ordered students, champions, merchants, and kitchen workers to build 2 relays. People who had called us basement labor now tore apart the arena whenever she pointed. The first relay stretched from the center seal to Nymeth's chamber below the western tower. The second crossed the arena toward Mazrin's staff. We needed the ownership lock. Mazrin picked up the staff before we reached it. What? Stop, he said. Black lines rose behind him. Reverse the gate and the creators will return with an army. If we do nothing, there will be no world to invade, I said. You do not understand the border. You bought it 3 days. The arena heard me. Fear hardened Mazrin's face. 3 days is still time. He struck the staff against the sand. Black chains erupted from the floor. They caught 3 students carrying wire. They wrapped around Linnea's waist and pulled her away from the relay. I ran toward her. The envoy broke through Sorella's storm, shattered 2 of her rings, and threw her into the wall. 6 metal harvest creatures dropped behind it. And secondly, like royal mages, my numbers attacked while Ledwedimus. The second students dragged the relay beneath the battle, and my glove had power for 1 direct change. Like Mazrin stood 6 steps away, 3 beyond the silver thread. I crossed them myself. His chains tightened around Linnea. She could not breathe. I caught 1 black link with my bare hand. Its circuit marked Linnea as an enemy and Mazrin as safe. I exchanged the lines. Every chain in the arena released its prisoner. Then they turned toward Mazrin. His eyes widened. Omoda. No. Some black links lifted Mazrin beneath the public projection. The staff fell, Linnea rolled free, and the arena erupted as the capital saw its chancellor hanging inside his own spell. Mazrin struggled. The chains tightened. I acted under emergency authority, he shouted. The royal clerk reached the record crystal. Emergency authority does not permit the sale of the capital. He opened Mazrin's casualty projections. The documents proved that Mazrin had expected at least 80,000 deaths even under the false plan. Every public crystal showed the number. Mazrin stopped struggling as the anger of 1 million people found his face. Linnea picked up the staff. Ownership lock secured. She looked at my burned hand. Can you still make 3 changes? Through the relays. That was not my question. I flexed my fingers. 2 moved. 3 did not. Yes, she knew I was lying, but there was no replacement engineer. Then I will carry the regulator line, she said. You will not take the full strain. It could burn your channels. 2 smoking hands may be better than 1. It was terrible engineering and our only design. Lunea connected the white staff to the second relay. Then she ran toward Nymeth's chamber with the regulator line wrapped around her tool bag. I returned to the center seal. The extraction had lasted 6 minutes. The capital had lost more than 1 billion mana units. People with weak cores were no longer moving. Buildings faded as their defensive enchantments failed. Fires spread through the market district. Beyond the gate, enormous storage towers filled with stolen red light. I could see their lines. The Harvest Envoy saw me looking. It crossed the arena in one step. Sorella struck it from the side with her final wind ring. The impact changed its path by less than a handspan. That handspan saved my head. The Envoy's fist shattered the center seal beside me. Stone fragments cut my face. The collector junction remained below it, bright and exposed. Sorella landed on one knee. All 3 rings were broken. How long? She asked. Still unknown. She drew a plain sword. Your estimates are terrible. I work in repairs. The royal mages formed a line beside her. Tournament fighters joined them. Gavor appeared among the artifact students carrying the far end of the relay. He met my eyes once. My family built the west conduit, he said. The blue wire goes above the red at the final pillar. Useful? Do not forgive me. I was not planning to. He nodded and returned to work. The Harvest Envoy advanced through the defenders. It broke stone walls and threw fighters aside, but every second bought another length of connected wire. Nemeth's voice entered the first relay. Regulator line reached. Lunea is inside the core chamber. The second relay flashed white. Ownership line reached, Lunea said through it. Her breathing sounded rough. Staff connected. I placed both hands on the exposed collector. 3 junctions appeared before me as if they were beside one another. The collector carried 3 million units each second. The regulator carried only 12. The ownership lock carried 1. I had been thinking like a magician. More power seemed to require a stronger body. In my old world, a good switch did not carry the full force through the person pressing it. It carried a command. Nymeth, isolate the control lines from the main current. That function was removed from my authority. I am returning it. The first change moved the ownership line from the Harvest Envoy to Nymeth. 1 unit of mana crossed my burned fingers. The Envoy stopped. Its blank face turned toward the core chamber. Nymeth spoke through every crystal in the city. Original engineer authority restored. The Harvest creatures lost their target commands. Royal mages destroyed 2. Students smashed another with the broken arena gate. 1 kitchen worker struck a 4th with the stolen stew pot. Lunea's voice rose through the relay. The pot is scratched. The worker looked guilty. Acceptable damage, like she added. And the crowd in cheered while we looked pretty saying that the envoy was reached for the ownership line. I just made the second change that I reversed the regulator. Pain entered my hand, crossed my arms, and met Lunea's current through the relay. Her scream came from the core chamber. I nearly released the junction. Then her voice returned. Do not stop. The red streams above the capital froze. For 1 second, 3 million units hung motionless between the city and the gate. Every witness looked upward. I made the third change. The collector's destination moved from the gate storage towers to the residents' return branches. The flow reversed. Red light crashed down from the sky. It entered houses, streets, hospitals, and arena seats. People who had been motionless drew breath. Dim mana cores reignited. Defensive lamps burst into blue fire across the city. The public measuring network climbed past the stolen total. 1 billion units returned. Then the number kept rising. The gate was still open. Its other end remained connected to the creator's storage world. Their mana began pouring into ours. The Harvest Envoy lifted all 6 hands. Terminate reversal. Nymeth locked the ownership line. Request denied, she said. The storage towers beyond the gate cracked. Blue energy crossed into the capital at 5 million units each second. City barriers refilled. Hospital crystals regenerated. The weakened border network accepted the excess through its national branch. Mazrin's promised restoration happened without sacrificing 1 resident. He watched from inside his chains. There was nothing left for him to justify. The envoy tried to retreat. Its return circuit now pointed toward our collector. Every step pulled more power from its armor. White plates split. The black crown shattered. The creature that had measured 1 million people as grain fell to 1 knee before those same people. 20,000 arena witnesses stood around it. Across the capital, hundreds of thousands watched through repaired crystals. I moved 1 final connection inside its armor. The line that had absorbed Sorella's lightning opened toward its own core. All the stored power returned at once. The envoy broke into 6 columns of white light. They rose toward the gate, struck its rim, and tore the black opening apart. worked. The sky closed. Silence spread over the Capitol. Then one child in the front row started clapping. The kitchen workers joined. The artifact students followed. Guards struck swords against shields. People filled the streets and shouted until the sound became one continuous wave. My name moved through the city faster than any message crystal. Relin, the useless class. Relin, the spell thief. Relin, the arena breaker. Relin, the mana engineer. The last name remained. My hands released the collector. I fell before I felt myself falling. Lunia caught me. I did not know how she had crossed the arena so quickly. Her copper hair was burned at one side. Both palms were red. She was crying and smiling at the same time. "Your hands are smoking," I said. "Be quiet. That seems unfair." She kissed my forehead. The crowd noticed. 20,000 people made a different kind of noise. Linnea looked at them, looked at me, and kissed me properly. The noise doubled. Sorella stood nearby with a broken sword. Is this part of the repair process? No, Linnea said. Good. The academy textbooks remain incomplete enough. There was no jealousy in her voice. She turned and ordered healers to move faster. I woke near sunset in the basement workshop. The door had been repaired. The cleaning golem no longer walked into the wall. It now walked in a careful circle around my bed. Nymeth's image floated inside a small crystal on the workbench. She had transferred part of herself from the city core. Status report, she said. Capital survival rate after extraction is greater than 99%. Border barrier reserve restored for an estimated 11 years. Chancellor Mazarin is in royal custody. Master Braskin remains in his containment golem because the release order was lost. Tragic, I said. The golem has sufficient air. Then less tragic. The city council had met while I slept. The public record left them little room for a quiet decision. They stripped Mazarin of office. They seized the Gavor family's false contracts, but allowed its workers to reorganize under royal audit. Gavor lost his prefect rank and entered public repair service. Braskin's stolen warehouse funded compensation for the Eastern District. The council awarded me 1,000 gold and the deed to the maintenance building. They created a new title, Capital Circuit Warden, because governments liked naming things after someone else had saved them. My personal strength remained 10 after the extraction damage. My defense remained 9. My mana remained 10. The city core gave me a relay seed. It did not add a new ability. It extended the same external access to 10 steps and raised my safe limit to 60 low-power changes. With a prepared network, I could issue commands to a circuit carrying 10,000 units. I had started with 7 copper and no room. I now had 1,540 gold, a building, a royal title, and a golem that could turn left, and the golem turned right and hit the wall. Progress was rarely complete. Lunia entered carrying dinner. She had roasted meat with herbs until the edges became dark and crisp. Potatoes shone with butter and salt. An apple pie waited beneath a cloth, still warm enough to release cinnamon steam. She placed a wooden sign against the wall. Linnea and Relin Monoworks. Our names were the same size. You changed it, I said. You finally earned larger letters. We ate at the new workbench while the city celebrated outside. The meat was tender, the potatoes cracked under the fork. Sweet apple and cinnamon filled the small room after every bite of pie. For the first time since I arrived in this world, nothing around us was exploding. Linnea rested her head against my shoulder. What will you repair tomorrow? She asked. The Eastern District lamps. After that, the border network? After that, I looked at Nymeth's crystal. The ancient engineer watched the night sky through this basement window. Whatever the creators damaged. Every clock in the capital stopped. The celebration outside became quiet. Stars vanished one after another. A silver message stretched across the sky where everyone could see it. The system announced that an unauthorized engineer had reversed a protected harvest. The location of our world had been confirmed. Deletion would begin in 30 days. Nymeth's metal face turned toward me. They are coming, she said. Above the city, 30 silver marks began counting down. This time I had 30 days, 1 capital, and every wire in the world.